The strategic role Darwin played in Australia's defence was recognised as far back as 1892, when military planners perceived a potential invasion threat from Japan. But it was later in 1932 that Australian Army troops arrived at East Point to construct the fortifications and garrison accommodation, and by 1936, two 6-inch guns, magazines, command posts and searchlight stations had been installed. However, that is not the subject of today's video, for this spot in East Point is home to the most unique club not only in Australia, but possibly the world. Every place has its own unique individuals and characters that stands it apart from everywhere else. Darwin is no exception. In fact, I would go as far as to say it is at the absolute extreme when it comes to different, unusual and unique. But if you live in Darwin, it's just part of the everyday life and doesn't seem out of place at all. Let me introduce you to the Darwin Rocksitters Club. That's right, the Rocksitters Club. It all started as a failed fishing trip. On a sunny Saturday in 1974, a few mates with their rods and eskies filled with beer found a flat rock to cast a line off at the East Point cliffs that fringed Darwin's westernmost point. Yet, as they sat, drank and chatted, their lines remained slack. They didn't catch any fish, but then, as the sun set, they drank a few more tinnies and they said, "That was magical, why don't we do it again next Saturday?" From then on, one of the Northern Territory's most unusual movements took shape, and people became religious about the act of sitting on the rock every Saturday for hours at a time. They printed t-shirts and stubby coolers, erected a flag, and elected a cabinet with a minister for finance collecting $2 per member per week. You have to remember, in those days, Darwin's population was just 45,000 people. Nobody's watching TV, no phones, they made their own fun. Religiously, rock-sitters gathered every Saturday at East Point Reserve and continued to consume copious amounts of amber fluid coming from far and wide, once hearing of this guzzling group and eagerly joined the ranks to share their tales and views. What made the Rock-Sitting Club so unique was that due to Darwin's 7-metre tides, the rock would be a metre underwater at high tide. This ensured that only hardiest of drinkers would earn the right to become a rock-sitter. The group grew rapidly and published a list of official rules for a Rock-Sit-A-Thon. And the first rule was, there should be no funny business on the rock. The 3rd, 5th, 7th and 12th rule was simple, no funny business. The group attempted to break the world record by sitting for 5 days. Their success was ignored by an official record-keeping company for drinking too much beer. However, other clubs formed in Victoria, and a New Zealand club, the Parrowa Bay Sitters, soon broke the record when they sat for 6 days. Darwin won the title back with an 8-day sit-in in October 1978, which was run to commemorate the passing of the Northern Territory Self-Government Act. Several other marathon sits were conducted, often to raise money for charity. These included a 12-day world record that was set in 1980. Although this was jeopardised on the 11th day when an official complaint was made to the Northern Territory Police Commissioner concerning drinking in a public space, prompting police to visit the sitters and take the names of all people sitting at or visiting the rock. The Rocksitters have also been international, having their first ever sit-in on an inaugural flight from Sydney to Los Angeles, and they also had a sit-in at Uluru. A memorial plaque to the Darwin Rocksitters Club was first put in place at East Point in 1987 by Foundation member Beat Erismann in honour of their 10th anniversary. In the 1980s, the original rocks used by the club were broken up by a lightning strike, and further damage was done to the remaining rocks during heavy swells in 2012. In May 2024, members of the Darwin Rocksitters Club met again in Darwin to celebrate their 50th anniversary. Cheers! And at the meetup, former Northern Territory politician Dawn Laurie said that
my outstanding memory is of just the kindness and the warmth and the all-encompassing "this is Darwin" feeling.
If you're ever in Darwin on a Saturday night, head down to East Point and find the Rocksitters. Bring a few cans, enjoy a yarn, and be part of the history.